And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Delirium. Delirium! Craziness. This is the new big expansion for Ascension. I've played every expansion, I think, for Ascension at this point in time. The big box ones always interest me. I'm interested to see what new thing they have. One thing that bugs me with these expansions, and that happens with a lot of games like this, is it introduces a new mechanism. You're like, man, I love that mechanism. I would love to see it again. Well, there was an older set called Ascension Dreamscape, which introduced dream cards and Dreamborn and a new currency, and it was so fun. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to see more of this, but I never did. Until now. Let's take a look inside this box. Okay, so this set has all the normal trappings, the cultists and the apprentice and the mystics and the heavy infantry and blah, blah, blah. So what it has that's not necessarily new, but it has that other ones, you have a new currency here, and this is called Insight. It's really cool. It rolls all over the table. This was introduced in another expansion called Dreamscape. And what Insight does is your players are going to start with it based on turn order, but a lot of Insight will also come from Dreamborn cards. Whenever a Dreamborn card shows up in the middle row, you are going to get some Insight. Everyone gets one Insight, and if you buy one, you also get an Insight. So other than that, they're kind of, this one gives you one attack per turn. They're not really like that different from everything else. Like that Pollen Pixie is just to get 2 money and a point. This one here, I love this one though, the Salvage Yard, where you at the start of your turn return it to your hand, so you get to play it all the time. For all those other ones that say whenever a Mechanic Construct is played, blah 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 blah, you can activate all those with that card. We also have some really powerful Dreamborns that show up, including this one that costs 9, where once in your turn when you play a Mechanic Construct, draw a card for each construct you control, which is really powerful if you have that one and the other one, which is possible in this set. Now, that's one way to get the Insight. Another way is just through various cards. So, for example, this one gives you 2 runes and an Insight. This one here, once per turn, you get an Insight for each construct. The next time you defeat a monster in the center row, get an Insight. Gain 2 Insight. Gain 2 Insight. When you play, gain 1 Insight, and once per turn, gain 1 Insight. Great. So I have a lot of Insight. What am I doing with all this Insight? Well, one thing that you can do is you have the ability to play cards with this is something new to this set, with Recur is what this is called. And the way Recur works is you can pay cards to do something twice. So this card, I play it, draw a card. I pay 1 Insight, and boom, I can draw another card. Here, I gain money once per turn when I acquire a construct, put it directly into play. I can do that twice. And so a lot of these Insights, even like, for example, this Dreamscape Dryad, that's pretty cool. 3 points, pay 3 Insight to get 6 points instead. And they get more and more powerful. There's a lot of powerful ones in here. For example, here, you get 3 money, and if you control 2 or more constructs, 3 attack. To get 6 and 6 is really neat. Or here, take a hero without paying its cost twice. Or here, copy the effect of a hero played this turn twice. That's pretty neat. You can't copy this effect, though, because I guess they're worried about the whole thing falling to pieces. So that's one way to spend Insight, is on Recur. Another way to spend Insight is on these Fate cards. When these show up in the center row, there's an immediate auction, which is everyone just auctions, basically bids Insight. You can start with 1, and you have to keep raising or pass. Once everyone's passed, whoever pays bid the highest discards their Insight, and then they get to do whatever the card says. Yeah, these are okay. I think they slowed the game down. I don't know that the game necessarily needs an auction mechanism in it, but they are there. Then we have this. This is a Delirium die. Now the Delirium die, you can pay 5 Insight on your turn to roll it. And you're going to get whatever it says. Here, banish a card in your hand or in the middle. Here, draw 2 cards. Here, 3 runes. 4 attack. 5 points, or 6 Insight, which is kind of a wash, but hey, you got an extra Insight and you can roll it again next turn. to get something else. So every side is pretty good. There are also cards that have to do with this die, like here, draw a card and banish a card in center row, blah, blah, blah. Then you can roll a Delirium die. Here I can banish this card to roll the Delirium die, or this hero here, which just lets me roll the Delirium die, which is my new favorite hero in the whole game, and I would love to get it. This is all not just about insight and such. There are other cards that are in the game, and they have things like Echo, where you get this, if there's a card in your stockpile, you get it. And there's just some basic stuff. There's a lot of cards with the word clockwork on them. We have the Unite. And a lot of these cards are things that you've seen before, but this is to round it out. There are monsters, though. Look at this Titan here. You can steal someone else's insight, which is crazy, if you beat this Titan, which is going to be hard to do. Also, really like that artwork. Here, if you beat this monster, you get to roll the Delirium die. If you beat this guy, you get points and insight. These are Delirium pixies, but have nothing to do with the Delirium die. So what do you go? Oh, the carry-on, that's great. 10 insight. That's pretty neat. That means you're going to have to roll a Delirium die twice if you want. Take a Dreamborn for free. So there's a little bit of take that in these where you can go after your opponents, but for the most part the monsters will be giving you more insight that you can use. That's pretty much everything that's in this set. So this is the board for the new set. It's a pretty cool looking board, actually. I really like how it looks. I mean, this guy up here is not having a good day. But again, you look at the original Ascension artwork and you look at the artwork now and it's like, wow. And I like these tokens. Now, they probably roll around a little too much. But they just have this neat, I don't know, they feel like golden eggs or jewelry. I don't know what they are. They're pretty neat tokens. And so I already have some from the first set. But having more of them is not a bad thing. And of course the game comes in a box which holds everything, you know, your typical box if you're going to keep it by itself. Now I mentioned at the beginning Dreamscape. That was the one that I really liked. In fact, I liked the box so much that it's one of the few covers I keep. I don't keep the cover of all these boxes. But Delirium is like an extension of that, but it's not quite the same. In Dreamscape, you had these dream cards that only you had, only you could buy. So that was kind of cool. They didn't add that here, but they added the die. Now the die is the big change here, right? That way to spend this currency to get something good, but it's random. I don't mind that at all. You're like, what, random? But the random is good. Sometimes it gives you, 3 money, 4 attack, 5 points. That's not bad, right? I don't care which one I roll. Even the banishing a card, that's a good thing to get. Now, sometimes you might be looking for a very specific thing, and that's fine. Then maybe you shouldn't be rolling the Delirium die. I like the Delirium die. That's a name for a new show in the Dice Tower, the Delirium Dice Tower. But I just think this concept works really well. Like I said, the auction cards, that's the one part I don't like because I feel like it stops the game. Ascension's a pretty fast game. Play, do stuff. This kind of stuff, all right, stop, let's have an auction. And I don't know, I don't think Ascension is the place to have an auction. Fine. But I could just take those cards out and not play with them if I want to. Other than that, though, I like the new currency. I like the Dreamborn, and when they show up, everyone gets one. You're like, ooh, now I can get some more. Realize, of course, as I say this with most Ascension sets, if you start mixing this with everything else, except maybe if you mix it with Dreamscape, you're fine. But you mix it with everything else, you're going to not get as much of the currency as possible, which means you'll see the Delirium die less and less. So you'll want to mix this maybe with just one of the small ones or something to get the full effect of the stuff in here. But it's neat. Ascension is still going strong years later after it came out. I really enjoy this. While it's not groundbreaking, the recur mechanism is one of my favorites ever in a game. I like being able to play cards multiple times. I think that's neat. I like the die a lot. So this is easily, if I'm playing Ascension and we're like, which set are we going to use? This is certainly one that I'm going to recommend for sure. That's Delirium. Dice Tower Judgment approved!